Manager HQ. I'm very excited today to have Anastasia Prisyazhnaya presenting her webinar today. Uh, Thank you, Anastasia, for being with us today. Anastasia has 7+ years of experience in marketplaces as a product manager, and she's currently the lead product manager at Zamia. Thank you, Anastasia.
Thank you. Glad to be here. So shall we just start off with our topic about the PM skills framework?
Yes.
Okay, cool. So hello, everyone. And by the way, the chat is open. You can guys ask your questions at any time, and I will reply to them in the end. So what I wanted to share today is basically I hired a lot of product managers, and I've been in the recruiting process myself quite a bit. Um, and today I'm going to kind of share what would have helped me then to make my career, go faster, which is a skill framework. I will show you my kind of profile or presentation that I have with you today, that I have for you today in a minute. But here is the problem statement. I felt that on the interviews when I became a senior product manager or when I hired junior people, at all levels, I felt that I was super strong in some departments, but people still kept rejecting me sometimes. I would think erroneously, because in some areas, in some functions, my skills were not enough for the level. For the level, I was familiar with some things, but I did not practice them enough. And nobody basically has never told me about their expectations. And now that I've kind of got the grasp of how to get hired, and also I've hired a lot of product management professionals and mentored them on all levels, from junior to CPO. I would like to share something that I use to evaluate product management professionals, and that I also like to use for myself. So this is something that could be handy for you if you want, like a checklist for you, if you want to make sure that you increase your chances in the interviews dramatically, or not only in the interviews, but also when you progress internally, okay, in your company. So again, to clarify, I've worked in marketplaces which are considered top tier marketplaces for professional services in B2C, for handyman, for tutoring, etc. They are both in Europe, and both companies, the companies that I've spent most of my career in, are considered companies with amazing top-notch product culture. So it's not just my kind of opinion. It's based on working in companies with amazing, renowned product culture, and also it's based on basically I did a lot of research across the whole internet, and this framework that I came up with is like the aggregation of all the product management tracks that I've seen and all the product management skill sets that I've seen on the internet. So here we go. Let me show you the. By the way, this talk is going to last about, I guess, a total of 30 minutes. So we have I've already talked for 5 minutes, and the plan is I would show you the skill list. Here's an Excel spreadsheet, by the way. I would show you the skill list. I will give you the framework for the levels of each skill. And my point is that, like, this is basically the levels. And my point is that junior product managers are expected to have levels 0 to 2 or 0 to 3, etc. And the CPOs are expected to have levels 7 to 9, and the outstanding CPOs have level 10 in each skill, right? And so again, I will show you first the skill set, second the overview, second the levels for each skill, and third, I will go into some detail to tell you what I mean by each skill, and then I will answer your questions. So let's go. The skill set of a product manager, and I will give you an overview and some quick comments about the most important things that are typically missed. So the first one is I call it basic skills, which is decision making quality, like logic, critical thinking, etc., and also energy, like the ability to work in a focused manner with high productivity. Uh, uh, and um, and I would like to note that I consistently see that these skills is something that uh, uh, junior people are checked for, because basically they have nothing to be checked against because they have not had experience, especially when they're novices. And a common mistake is that more senior people are less tested for these things like basic decision making and energy. And I'm seeing hiring mistakes made because the person on his resume or her resume has wonderful cases, etc. But when you start to work with him or her, he just makes logical mistakes and his energy is quite low. I think it's a little bit on the side, but just wanted to kind of mention the pain that you might also have had with some of your colleagues and new hires, etc. So yeah, let's not forget about basic skills, and they're especially important on junior level. Also, discovery, which means the ability to do product discovery, which means that if you want to understand, identify the user needs, and to identify the most painful pains, so to speak. Okay, and you do it with largely qualitative methods, also quantitative, but largely qualitative methods. And the third skill is prioritization. The fourth skill is execution. The fifth skill is UX UI, the ability to create logical and um, comprehensive user experience. Okay, um, and next skill is analytical skill, and then there are auxiliary skills about some familiarity or basic skills in marketing, engineering, etc. And then there is people management and strategy. And these two are clearly more relevant on the senior to CPO roles, and not for junior, not required. So these are a little bit, let's mark them a little bit grayish, that they're applicable to certain levels, right? If you're a junior or middle level, they are not really applicable. They're not something that you should worry about right now. And also, kind of the last thing that I had to note, it's not a skill, but it's something that I definitely ask on the interview and something that I prepare for to when I am getting hired, is the ability to improve metrics in your area of responsibility. And the more the more junior you are, the lesser the area of responsibility is. However, as you grow, it's an ability to improve metrics in your assigned area. Uh, and so, yeah, I will go into what I wanted to note. Again, this is the value of this. If you look at these 10 points, and we'll go into details a little bit later, and you ask yourself, okay, what is new about it? Well, honestly, I could send you the. I've never seen such a comprehensive list of points. So I've seen, for example, there are career progression tracks in from top-notch companies like Intercom, etc. If you Google Intercom progression, what's it called? There is a document that I could send to you later, which is a public document, product manager expectations by level at Intercom. And there are only, like, let's say, 5 or 6 of those. And same thing happens in other companies. So this is the list that I compiled for myself to aggregate, all the areas that you want to basically to use as a checklist in your career development. And so yeah, and let's check the levels for each skill here. Um, the levels are. This is something that I have not seen on the internet, but you can imagine, if you studied anything at all, be it languages or data science or whatever you have at school, or even in let's say in gaming, you have certain like levels of mastery. Okay, and I tried to come up with 10 or 11, in this case, levels of mastery of like anything. uh, and Why did I do it? Because in job descriptions, you uh, see things like mm, experienced in SQL or experienced in user research, but they do not say what level of experience you should have. And this is kind of a bummer. And I always try to ask them when I'm getting hired, like, what exactly what are the things that you really need as a must-have, and what are the things that that you're okay that if I don't have them. So again, let me just read it, and you'll understand. So level one is when somebody is familiar with the concept, just familiar with the term. For example, in prioritization, you definitely want to be familiar with the term RISE prioritization, even if you're a junior product manager. Level one is we read up some theory about it. Level two, so basically, for you to be more comfortable with this list, we're talking about familiarity, then theoretical knowledge, then practical knowledge, then you increase the number of cases that you have done successfully and without supervision, and then you become not an apprentice, but you become a master, so that you change this area and this domain, and so that you become a thought leader, first within the company, then outside of the company, and then you become an industry level visionary. So with that, you may want to rank on every skill. You may want to rank yourself like, am I just familiar with the concept, do not really understand the theory, and haven't completed any cases with this thing? For example, user research again. Or have I read up some theory? Do I understand theory accurately? Practice a couple of times under supervision, practice many times under supervision, practiced nearly independently, completed several projects with significant impact, uh, can coach juniors to master this skill, thought leader inside the company, and or getting paid for C-level consulting on this topic outside of the company. Then have led this team at the C-level to create company-wide level up, and meaning that having have improved metrics to significantly, or have improved some, set up completely stellar analytical system, or have completely revamped the way you do, the way you have product processes are in the company, etc. Or devise a new strategy that is a winning competitive strategy. And the 10th level is industry level visionary. And with that, you can rank yourself, and kind of, again, so if you can basically take this spreadsheet and rank yourself on each skill. And I will tell you about the details of each skill in a second. Hold on, I'm seeing a bug here. Uh-huh. And so you can rank yourself on each kind of sub skill. And for example, you think that you are, let's say, a senior product manager, and you have figured that on you would expect, being, let's say, if you want to be competitive as a senior product manager, you want to have, let's say, 5 to 7 or 8 scores on each of these skills. If you see that some of the skills are scored, let's say 2 to 4, then it means that you kind of leveled them up to definitely somebody who would not, who the industry typically expects. When I say the industry, by the way, I'm not talking about smaller startups. The target, let's say, persona of the company who I'm discussing here is a company that is sized between definitely more than 100 people, I would say. This is just the size of the companies that I'm used to. And maybe, I'm not sure that I'm talking about the largest companies here, because sometimes, for example, the departments are so specialized that you really don't need data analysis, for example. So these things differ a little bit. But I would say that for not a medium-sized company, but for an average unicorn, these are the skills that you want to have. So I've described this. I've given the overview of the skill set. I've given the levels for each skill, and also I will tell you now just the details what I mean in each skill, so that you could. By the way, I suggest that you right now you make this exercise of scoring yourself, because you can just uh, you can do it on paper right now as I'm speaking. There are quite a lot of lines, but I mean not too many. So and we still have time. So please just do this. Feel free to do this exercise with me, and I hope in the end, after like 5 or 10 minutes, you will have a, I would say, some. I hope you will have something useful, to take from this meeting, take from this webinar. Um, so let's just start and go over these. First basic skills is can think logically, which means without jumping to conclusions or without false assumptions and without avoiding cognitive biases. And what do I mean here? I'm just not sure what you guys understand and what you don't understand, because I'm not like kind of seeing the reactions here yet. However, yeah, let me just assume we are talking about we are discussing things from scratch here, assuming kind of that are clear for everyone, so that we make things clear for everybody here. So can think logically, which sometimes again you have a person who came to the interview. Or you are coming to the interview, apply it to yourself as well, and you have had some. You have increased some metrics before. Maybe you know Figma well, or you know SQL well, but the but the other party sees that your thinking or the candidate's thinking is not structured enough. You cannot break down things. You jump to conclusions, and that this means that the decision making will be suboptimal, or even, um, you know, even kind of damages to the company. And so this is kind of the basic thing that people look at. So just make sure that you explain yourself in a pretty structured way, and without um, without internal contradictions, so to speak. Okay. And sometimes the interviewers, they to check it, that not only they listen to you, and not only they give cases that show how you break down a problem and how you avoid jumping to conclusions by asking questions, but also they can ask for some brain teasers, especially on the junior level. It happens quite often. The second thing is can define a problem well. The good problem statement is, I think it's a separate art. Uh, that maybe it's outside the scope of this meeting, but yeah, just to give you a glimpse of what I'm talking about is defining a problem well means showing listing all the things that are not okay right now, all the criteria of acceptance, quote unquote, and or it means separating must-have criteria from nice-to-have criteria. It means telling what resources do we have, what future plans do we have, and basically listing all of the things that we should take into account when we're trying to select between solutions. This is defining a problem well. Also, it's about asking questions that cut out the the solutions that are not worth pursuing. They cut out and they cut these questions, cut them out in the very beginning, and this saves a lot of time. And this is solved by case questions largely. In the interview process. So the second next point is you can brainstorm many solutions to a problem. And again, this is checked in the interviews quite in a very standard manner. Just some people forget about the fact that they should not only they should be able to basically think about several solutions to each problem they have, or to think quickly on their feet. And for example, like recently in Zalando, they asked me, like, what are the so we have very huge refund ratio because we have this policy where you can refund apparel and shoes within 100 days of purchase, no questions asked. And like, what do you think are the reasons? And I should have had, well, they asked me and other candidates about, like, to brainstorm many, many, many potential problems to this problem. Sorry, potential hypothesis about this problem. So just to check that you are quick on your feet. Um, the next one is oh, there is a like the wording. I will check the wording, but the point is that you can calculate things easily, like estimate. Basically, the product manager is somebody who makes decisions, also about, also financial decisions, and so you want to be able to estimate impact very quickly, like in a matter of seconds, to estimate the total market size and to see if the market or the segment are worth pursuing at all or not. Uh, yeah, things like that. So high energy, which means being on 90+% of the time, um, and some, and again, just if you feel that it's kind of obvious, it turns out that I'm seeing a lot of people who are, again, can do results, but then they are so low energy that you don't want to work with them. And so if I think about my career and the people who I want to hire, I definitely want to hire those who are high energy. I feel that a lot of people kind of tend to forget about it. They're seeing the results that they can, that they're seeing that their resume is getting stronger and stronger with the results. However, when they come to the interview, we often reject, uh, we often discontinue talking to them, because their energy levels are too, let's say, low. Um, and next thing is, it's just not a skill, it's just something that I check. And if you are opting for a junior position in product management, then just check that you have showed tangible results in the previous function. For example, you were working in sales, and you can show tangible results in your, that you exceeded expectations in your sales function. Okay. I understand that all of these details can be a little bit overwhelming, but I just specifically wanted to record it as a webinar so that you could get back to the recording and listen to it again, and again, to just and score yourself against this, and work on the areas that are lagging. So let us just do let us go forward. Discover, user research. What I mean here is that the ability to ultimately, like, the skill of the level 6 or 7 of the skill is when a person really can talk to people, to clients or potential clients, in a way that he or she understands their needs in an unbiased manner. Unbiased meaning he has not or she has not only read the book called Mom's Test, but also read up on a lot of behavioral science and just cognitive science and psychology, and have practiced user research so much that everybody says that the results are unbiased, and he or she has identified the true needs, and identified the most painful. Sometimes users, when we talk to them, they do not. They're either not cognizant of their true most painful needs, or just cannot recall them. And the art is that you wanna uncover the most painful, the biggest pains that people have in this market. Uh, so another point is, I just separate other qualitative methods like surveys and UX testing and Hotjar, and creating MVPs with the different methods, and there are around 10 methods of creating MVPs. So I put it aside because it's hard to score yourself on all of them at the same time. So I just separately put the user research, aka product discovery interviews, one-to-one, and other qualitative methods. Um, so the next block is prioritization, and I would say that level 8 or 9 of this skill is knowing, not knowing, but having practice. Again, knowing is level 1, right? Being familiar with the different prioritization methods. But there are about like 20 prioritization methods, and it's important to have tried a lot of them, not only Rice but Kano and several others that are easily Googleable. So yeah, it's again, prioritization is an art because you want to know the 20 methods and you want to have practiced them and understood what works and what doesn't work in certain scenarios. And this is a matter of another conversation. If you want to have it, we could have it. Um, the next point is identify necessary quant research for to research to make the product decision and be able to use the data that analysts give you or that you find yourself. Um, this intersects a little bit with the analytics here below, but in general, prioritization is just, I wrote it separately because I have seen that this is a common problem, the common lack of skill that product managers have, that is not being able to identify the necessary quant research and over analyzing and spending too much time. So, and this is something that I've seen product managers showcase in their interview process that gave some additional bullet points that they have, they were being very pragmatic in terms of not over analyzing. Rapid hypothesis testing methods. Sorry. Rapid hypothesis testing methods. It's There are several methods, including testing, like doing the so-called concierge NDP or a honeypot, etc. So again, level 0 is you're familiar with them, level, or some of them. I would say that level 0 for a junior product manager is being familiar with 2 or 3 of them, and level 8 is being familiar with 10 of them and having practiced like 8 of them in real life. So execution is dependability, and by the way, it does not have really levels because either you deliver, I would say you deliver on X% of your promises, right? So as a junior product managers, you want to actually deliver on 100% of your promises, and I think this is what makes junior product managers being having a match. By the way, this is like the core skill, I think, really core in terms of its value, and it's something that is commonly overlooked. People think that they should know things, but then when they're not dependable, it all does not matter. And I'm really talking about it from both my personal experience and also my peers' experience. This is something very commonly overlooked. And if a junior product manager does not increase metrics, does not know every single detail in analytics or in the design, etc., but he or she delivers on 100% of his or her promises in the smaller domain, of course. This works wonders for a career, really. Somebody consistently delivers on, let's say, less than 70% of the promises, then a couple of quarters and the person is out. This is just how it works. In a good company, of course, or when the market is not like crazy as it has been a couple of months ago. So what else? Process improvement. Writing task specs clearly. This is about a good product statement, but also about communicating with designers and developers, etc. Really, it's an art where you want to be unambiguous. However, you don't want to write, encyclopedias or just something huge. You want to balance between being unambiguous and between writing just enough for them to work without many additional questions. However, you also want them to contribute if you feel that they can improve the feature, etc. You want kind of to phrase it in a way that they know what to, they know when and how they can contribute to the feature. Okay. Um, Next thing is process. Yeah, I guess I will need to kind of wrap up in about 4 minutes, and I'll check if there are questions, and if there are questions, we'll talk until the 45-minute mark. Um, Execution also involves process improvement, for which typically in the job description is about, Scrum, Kanban, you're familiar with Lean development and Agile. However, I like to call it process improvement because we're not, we don't want to exercise so-called cargo cults where people just practice Scrum and Kanban just because these are the words that everybody uses. You want to maximize your velocities or throughput. You know, both of these terms are kind of okay, changeable kind of for most people. So yeah, you want to maximize your the what you produce in a certain period of time, and for that you want to again practice, have several, first get some familiarity with the concepts, and then have several cases where you have like experiments where you have tried to improve processes and they were indeed, and you've learned something from it. Okay, so this is about the team execution. And also a separate skill is meeting facilitation. And yeah, somebody can tell me here, okay, this is what Scrum Masters are for. And well, yes and no, meaning that in a lot of companies there is no budget for Scrum Masters. So the product manager is the person who takes on all the responsibilities that other people cannot take on. So yeah, meeting facilitation is a skill that often is valuable for becoming a great product manager. And by the way, if we also another note, if this it seems a little bit kind of technical and too detailed, and you think that we are missing the forest for the trees, meaning that where is the vision, where is the metric, improving the metrics by understanding the needs, etc. Well, the answer is no. We definitely remember that a great product manager is somebody who identifies the needs and makes sure that we deliver um, a desirable, viable, and feasible. This triad. Desirable, viable, and feasible product in a proper. Um, we deliver it over, with a proper cadence, with proper just project duration, so to speak. And yes, largely speaking, we are talking about the fact that we want to be this kind of product manager. But if we want to be more precise in terms of what we should be able to do, then this is the list that comes up basically. Okay, let me move on. About execution, okay, we're done, and let me just spend another 5 minutes on discussing these UX and UI. What I'm talking here about are first the basic laws. You shouldn't necessarily be a Figma master. By the way, my what I'm seeing right now is that there are more and more product managers who are ex-designers. So you definitely want to be able to do something in Figma. Thanks God, Figma is a simple to learn tool. So you want to prototype. I do advise that you prototype, or else you will be less and less competitive. And you want to know basic laws of perception, decision making, cognitive biases from psychology and from behavioral science, etc. And from cognitive neuroscience. By the way, we read a textbook on cognitive science and was really wonderful. So yeah, highly recommended. Do not feel embarrassed to read a book on cognitive neuroscience as a product manager. And the third is called taste, which refers to UI. UI meaning the visual appeal of the interfaces. And yeah, it's kind of a, again, simple thing. Just you want to make sure that you have the taste. You're not that Okay, just let's keep it here. You want to have the taste. Um, analytics means, and let's divide it here. Let me just highlight what's important here. It's not only data analysis, which by the way the requirements are different across companies, but I strongly believe and recommend that, I'm seeing the data analysts become fantastic product managers. And for you to stay competitive, you want definitely to do basic or medium level SQL, also Amplitude and Tableau, which are simple. Um, and analytics not only means data analysis itself, but also experiment design, uh, which is a separate science with its art and science with its kind of books and philosophy. Um, Also, unit economic calculation and optimization, including LTV, modeling, etc. And working with data analysts and data scientists effectively so that you guys both understand each other. And last three points. The auxiliary skills means first marketing related skills like understanding, familiarity with the theory, or maybe some product managers are interested in they practice in paid acquisition channels or in brand marketing work. Um, so yeah, the more the better. Generally, you don't need to be a super pro here. On levels from junior to middle level, even on senior level, it's enough to be familiar with all the concepts that marketing department uses. Then development and QA, meaning both their processes and what are the hard things to do and what are not so hard things to do for them, and how your system works, your architecture. And separately, I put here a small skill, however, just to note difference between platforms and what you have to account for in terms of design, release, cadence, etc. on iOS, Android, and web. And lastly, 2 points about people management and strategy. Okay. The first point is, people management means, I would break it down into four things. Mentoring in a way that enables people to grow, team management, hiring, and stakeholder management. And strategy is broken down into these points, creating a roadmap for the current product that is improving the current product. Second, launching from 0 to 1, that is being able to devise a strategy, product strategy, and a plan, execution plan to launch a new product or sub product from 0 to 1. Competitive analysis and business models. Business models means monetization strategies, so to speak. And again, I understand that it's impossible to remember this all, so it's like a file that I could send to any of you interested. You can add me on either on LinkedIn or on Telegram, Anastasia P20, um, and um, and I could send you this file for your use. And again, the levels are from being familiar with the concept in theory to practicing it under supervision, without supervision, one time, many times, coaching people internally, and being a thought leader internally, and being a thought leader and um, the kind of the influential person in terms of his impact externally. Okay. Um, yeah, that's you know what, that's kind of, that was a quick run, but that's about it. That's about everything I wanted to tell today. So I guess I'm not seeing any questions right now, so maybe I think we should wrap up, and just you can contact me again at Telegram. The best way is to contact me at Telegram. Anastasia, that's ANASTASIAP 20 in Telegram. Okay. Thank you for your attention, and yeah, open to chat anytime.